My amplified unit. Salute. Familiar settings, right? You wouldn't even know it, but we actually uplifted the amplified studios to an entire different location, and we did that while BC was away on business. And I was able to get about 36 hours to head back, get the affairs in order with the studio, among other things, and then it's right back out to the West Coast first, and then everywhere in between for the rest of the month. But at least I have this time, so I said, while I'm back into our new studio, you guys don't notice a thing, you still got the set, but while we're back into the new amplified studio, I gotta cut a video for my amplified unit, so it's good. Even though it's a new location, man, the set feels familiar, and it feels like we're back in the groove, at least for now. There's still a lot more audio format only vids to come, but for the rest of the month, no matter how busy BC is, and I want to hit up my theme parks, my HHN, my fucking, just all the Halloween stuff going down in Florida and California. So I got to fit that in as well. But no matter what, you guys are going to get content, man. Like today, where we got to talk Kenny Omega. Triple H wants to bring Kenny Omega into World Wrestling Entertainment. Can AEW afford to lose another EVP? Would it matter? Does the EVP really matter in AEW? Or is it just more of a headache, more problems for Tony Khan? We're going to talk about it. We also are going to talk, obviously, Andrade, Sammy Guevara. This broke out yesterday on social, became a huge story. Sammy Guevara was trending. So BC cut a little... I filmed something last night, and it was just too late. I was too busy. I couldn't put it out. So I'm going to make sure that you guys get that segment that I filmed. You're going to know my candid thoughts on Sammy and Andrade, I assure you, in this very video. But first, a couple of quick stories first. And before I even get going on that, I got to give a salute to some super thankers, man. That's that new button that YouTube put down below. I think it's called the thanks or super thanks button. Anyway, you guys are showing that some love, and you're throwing BC coffee even when I'm traveling around the world. I can't possibly tell you how much that means to BC. I don't need it. Obviously, I'm going to have coffee no matter what, and I'm going to be crisscrossing the nation no matter what. So the fact that you guys go above and beyond, even though it's not needed, so appreciated. And that's Ray Foreman with that $1.99 coffee. Ray Foreman, I appreciate that, man, big time. Also, Big Nang. I know I saw Big Nang highlighted. Hold on, where's Big Nang? I know I gotta... Hold on, man, I'll stay here. Oh, yes, that 2-spot. Big Nang, I appreciate the Dunkin', bro. And Osio Weidman with 2 back-to-back $9.99 super thankses. That's about four Starbucks lattes. Again, not needed. Appreciated while I'm crisscrossing the nation, man. You guys showing that love. Osio Weidman. Double thank you right back. Much love and appreciation as always. Salute to my super thankers. A special group that go above and beyond on the channel. Salute to you guys. Fuck, it's so good to be drinking a coffee in the studio. So Osia, Ray Foreman, Big Nang, special shout out and thanks to you guys. Now before I get to the Triple H Omega thing, before I get to Andrade and Sammy, a couple of quick hit notes, man. I got to talk about Sting real quick. Sting is going to be tagging up with the Great Muta. Now, if that doesn't mean that much to you, if you're a younger fan, I totally understand. If you're an OG and you remember Surfer Sting back in the day, early WCW, way before the Monday Night Wars, way before Hogan went to WW or WCW, way before the NWO, I'm talking late 80s, early 90s, Surfer Sting. And you remember the battles between Sting and Muta. Man, even though BC was a younger amplified kid, I remember how special those matches were, and watching the grown-ups in my life be captivated by Muta and Sting. To hear that they're going to be teaming up, check this out, man. And this just, Muta just came over to AEW about a week or two ago. Grand Slam Rampage, I believe. And this is what stemmed the announcement, man, that they're going to be teaming up This is what Sting had to say about the Great Muta, first of all. Sting says, and I quote, "I know my days are numbered, so I'm trying to make the most out of the time left and give the fans everything I have before this wave comes into shore for good." Sting is 63 years old, guys. I think he knows. I think he has a limit of 65, even if he's wrestling once a year. 65, I believe he's going to pack it up. That's the type of individual that Steve Borden is. He always has everything in order. I think you are seeing the final matches of Sting, even though it seems like he's going to be around infinity, eternity and beyond. Sting is saying he knows his moons are limited. And he says that I'm grateful, this is a quote, "I'm grateful that Muta was able to be here with me in the United States. That's a memory I'm going to hold on to, and it signifies the end of our era. I'm looking forward to having one last grand hurrah with the Great Muta, especially in Japan. Sting will team with Muta in a 6-man tag on the Great Muta's final bye-bye," I believe he's calling it. Something like that. It's pretty funny. But that's his goodbye to pro wrestling. Kind of like what Ric Flair just had, even though we don't totally believe that. Sting goes on to say, "It's been over 30 years, but I can still feel that excitement of sharing the ring with him. The first time we were ever together, we knew there was chemistry there. It didn't matter if we were in Philadelphia or Fukuoka." Hopefully I said that right. Much love to Japan. There was a magic, that's for sure. So, if you're an OG fan, then you're like BC, you're getting goosebumps hearing Sting talk about it. To hear Sting talk about when he saw Muta show up at Rampage Grand Slam, and he just held on to that moment during the moment. Sting is in the ring, and he's having this moment. He says he had flashbacks of their time many moons ago. That's just... His exact quote was, "That was a moment. I had flashbacks when he stepped into the ring, seeing him face to face. It took me back in time." Guys, if that doesn't give you goosebumps if you're an OG. To hear Sting talk about taking it back in time when he saw Muta face to face, and this is a guy who's performing he's in the moment, and he's taking himself back decades ago. Man, that gives BC goosebumps. And Muta and Sting one last time together for Muta's final bye-bye. I had to talk about that real quick, man, because that is something that is so fucking special. And you damn well better bet one way or the other I'm going to be checking out that match. And to hear Sting talk about it's the end of our era. Just to wrap it up, if you're an OG wrestling fan, it's one of those moments where you're just, like Sting is most likely thinking himself through his own words. Where did the time go? We blinked. And 30 years passed, it seems. Unfucking real, man. Sting, Muta, one last time. Together this time. Pretty fucking cool. Also, man, before I get to some of the bigger stories, Sandman is opening up on Bobby Lashley and why Lashley left WWE approximately 15 years ago-ish. Where was that? WrestleMania 23? The shaved head match with Trump and McMahon? So Sandman says, I gotta give you a quote. This won't even do it justice. So he talked about the pay that they received at WrestleMania 23. This is a quote from Sandman. "Dude, I got $40,000 to do 2 moves. I did a leg drop from the top rope on Matt Stryker, who was laying over the top rope, and I did a clothesline over the top rope onto Pope Elijah Burke. And I clotheslined him over the top rope. Got a fucking check like 2 months later, while there were 8 guys in the match, and we were fit on the card of 8. And the main event was, I forget what was after us, but the main event was Trump shaving fucking Vince." Sounds kinky. I don't know about Van Dam and what he was paid because I don't even like asking Van Dam stuff like that, but all the guys I know are like, yeah, that's what I got too, $40,000. So that's what I got. So they paid 8 guys, so that was they probably got off cheap. That was $320,000 of a match in paying the guys. Also, Bobby Lashley was in that match, the Battle of the Billionaires. He got fired. You know why? Because he bitched about getting $500,000 for that match. Because Bobby Lashley could not wrestle a lick back then. Now he's pretty good, but he couldn't wrestle really good back then. He fucking complained about getting $500,000, dude. Vince is like, all right, you're fired. Didn't take him back for years. He's over his shit now. Well, first of all, he's not really over because the booking hasn't been behind him. He could be. Lashley should be something huge in the business, especially with a championship. But the title has been irrelevant. In fact, it's being defended yet again on TV next week, not at the pay-per-view Extreme Rules. So Bobby Lashley has not had the booking to be over as fuck, so I don't know what product Sandman is watching, but much love and respect to Sandman. I used to love that dude growing up in ECW, smashing beer cans over the dome piece, blasting Metallica's Enter Sandman. But for him to make this claim that Lashley was fired because he didn't like $500,000 in that match with Trump, McMahon, and Umaga, if you guys remember. If that is true, man, was Bobby Lashley putting a heavy price tag over his dome piece. Bobby Lashley thought he was worth, what, $750,000 for that match? I got to agree with Sandman here. He was nowhere near worth $500,000 back then. But for him to demand more money or bitch and complain about $500,000, could you really blame Vince for saying, get the fuck out of here, bro? But that's if that's true. That's a hefty claim. We'll have to see if Lashley validates that or totally nullifies that concept and calls Sandman a fucking... Maybe he says Sandman took one too many kendo sticks and beer cans to the dome piece. But if you guys were wondering what happened to Lashley approximately 15 years ago, wonder no more. It sounds like Sandman knows what happened backstage, and Lashley wanted more money from WrestleMania 23, thought he was worth more than $500,000, and Vince said, dude, I've been over this too many times. I'm not dealing with this shit. You're fired. And that's why Lashley was not seen for a long time. It sounds like Vince held a little bit of a vendetta. Lashley made a little bit of a name for himself in MMA-ish. Not to the levels of Brock Lesnar, but something. And Vince eventually did bring him back. But that's an interesting thing. We always wondered, what the fuck? What's the real story? Does Sandman have the scoop? Sounds it. Moving on. Let's not waste any more time, man. Triple H bringing in Kenny Omega in 2023. Could it happen? From what BC is hearing, yes. For so many weeks, we heard that there was feelers for the Young Bucks, right? It wasn't necessarily that. The actual word that we ended up getting that was the most reputable is that they were talking to people in WWE. Now, they have lots of buddies there, like the Kevin Owenses and the Styles and so many others. So they were talking to people. Yes, it is true. The most reputable of sources did say that they were feeling out how it is over there right now, how they would be perceived. Is there an opening? But they never talked to management, and I do believe that story. The Bucks themselves claim that, and the most reputable sources that BC goes through, including my own down in Florida, who are usually way more right than wrong. And even when they're wrong, there's validity to what they're saying. So everybody was on the same page. There's no evidence that says that Young Bucks talked to management. But yes, there is absolutely... They're on equal ground as far as the Bucks have a place in WWE. But it's Kenny Omega. It's Omega that we are hearing absolutely is open to a WWE debut, and Triple H is open to the idea. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we even get any farther, let's talk about the contract status of Omega, right? How did we even get to this conversation where we're hearing that Kenny Omega is feeling out WWE and Triple H is starting to feel out the process of bringing Kenny Omega in? How did we get there, right? Is this contract really up that quickly? Yes, is the answer. Now, we don't have an exact date. We're hearing end of January, early February, right? There's a date of January 30th, and then there's a date of February 1st. The point is, you're about 3 months away from Kenny Omega's contract being up. There was word going around that he had re-signed. That is nullified. There's no proof of that at all. His contract ends early next year, and I'm talking January, February, the latest, February 1st. That's literally 3 months away. And I think that's now why this is just the beginning. I mean, you're going to hear a lot more about this in the next couple of months. If Tony Khan doesn't nip this in the bud right now and signs this guy for whatever he's asking for, this could get ugly for AEW. Now, what Tony Khan can do, he can actually tack on 9 extra months because of injury. We've seen WWE do this. You're basically freezing the contract while the injury is in effect, while the recovery process is happening. And when they finally come back, you can unfreeze that contract. But that frozen time now has to be thought out, right? Now you have to pay that back, pay back the piper. WWE is infamous for doing that type of shit. And they're well within their means to do such. I mean, that's what a contract is. A lot of these contracts, today, you have to make a certain amount of dates even. So, I mean, you have no choice but to tack on time. But it's also looked at as pretty shitty. I mean, this is a time where the wrestlers should be able to go off and do their own thing. Injuries occur because they're putting their bodies on the line for the promoter. They expect a little bit of a grace. And the promoter is going to be like, no, not happening. We're going to keep you exactly what we signed you for. So AEW has the same option from what we're hearing in Omega's contract. Tony Khan can tack on 9 extra months. I don't know if that's the EVP status or the talent status in the contract. Because let's not forget, guys, this isn't just a talent. This is an EVP. If this guy goes, it doesn't matter if you think the EVP, especially Omega and the Bucks, they really do anything backstage other than cause drama and get people pissed off because they're making all these decisions that other wrestlers think they shouldn't be. It doesn't even matter what side you're weighing in on. The fact is that for morale, for public image, for the reception that people are giving you, when you see another EVP go over to the competition to join Cody Rhodes, that is the worst look possible for Khan. It's almost like Khan backed himself into a corner. He had all these wrestlers as EVPs, not thinking that this is a business, and if they think the grass is greener on the other side, they're going to fucking leap over that fence and piss in that grass. And Cody Rhodes did it, and it worked out like $1 million fucking bucks for this dude, literally and figuratively. So Tony Khan could be in a world of shit. And speaking of $1 million bucks, figuratively, let's talk reality of Kenny Omega's contract. He is currently getting $3 million a year from Tony Khan's AEW. $3 million a year. Now, you got to believe if he jumps over to WWE and takes that huge gamble, he's going to at least ask for that 5-year deal that Vince McMahon has given to many wrestlers. 5 years. You got to believe he's not going to take a pay cut. He's getting up there now in age. He knows his worth. And he's going to try to go for the most money. So if he's going to ask for 5 years just to stay at the $3 million he's getting per year now in AEW, that is $15 million that Vince McMahon, you can say Triple H all you want, Vince McMahon is still the biggest owner of World Wrestling Entertainment, but WWE, will say, is paying this dude $15 million for his services. Then you have to ask, is he worth it? Do you guys think Kenny Omega is worth $15 million over 5 years? $3 million a year, 5-year deal. Talent-wise, he is, but he's starting to become injury-prone. So that's one thing to look at, right? This is what they do in baseball, if you notice. In many sports, but especially baseball, they try to go for the longest amount of years at the highest price cap, right? I mean, if one team is offering seven years for $85 million, but another team is offering 10 years for $120 million, you know, they know that they could get injured in 2 fucking years and then they're fucked. But if they can get that team to sign them for 10 fucking years, gold mine, right? So Omega knows if he gets injured in 2 years, man, and he's got that 5-year fat ass deal, there's nothing WWE can do but pay him. So that's why wrestlers, kind of like baseball players, they're now looking for that longer-term deal, the highest price cap possible. So my point is, man, there's a lot of business going into this, but absolutely everything that BC is hearing right now, and my people are down in Florida, around that performance center, everything we're hearing is that Triple H is more than open to bringing in Omega, and Omega, it wasn't just the Bucks, Omega is feeling out WWE. Could it be that he's going over to World Wrestling Entertainment in 2023? And what the fuck would that mean for the landscape of professional wrestling? I mean, if you think about Omega versus Seth Rollins, can you think about Omega versus Kevin Owens? Omega versus Cody Rhodes up at a WrestleMania, man. Put him in a 60-minute Iron Man match. We'll see how injury-prone either one of them are. When you talk dream matches, I mean, damn, I know there's a lot left for Omega wrestling-wise in AEW, but in World Wrestling Entertainment, man, the matches you can think of, and I'm not just talking about bangers, right? Banger after banger after banger. No, I'm talking about storylines. I mean, Omega has a lot to offer that he hasn't even tapped into in AEW. Unfortunately, I feel his AEW booking has been completely botched, just like the Young Bucks. It's almost like the EVP tag has been a detriment to both Tony Khan and to the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes. It's almost like the EVP thing has been nothing but weight on their shoulders. So I believe Kenny Omega has not even begun to scratch the surface in AEW, and sadly, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But in WWE, where he can just wear the talent cap, man, the sky's the limit, and I feel he can carry awesome storylines. Omega versus Styles, I just... There's so much that he can do in WWE, guys. And for AEW diehards, you're like, no, I don't want to hear this. Earmuffs. Put in the headphones. I hear you. I'm just saying that don't be shocked if this happens, guys. And if he ends up re-signing with AEW, I really think they should all sit down and think about taking away the EVP status for the new contract. Because this has got to stop. This is not helping AEW, it's not helping the talent, and it's not helping Tony Khan. Having 4 EVPs, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks. Cody Rhodes even had enough. He had to fucking leave because he was butting heads with the Young Bucks. And Kenny Omega and Young Bucks being suspended, they're not completely happy with Tony Khan. It's just a fucking headache. Talent is in the middle of all this. So CM Punk, I'm not sticking up for CM Punk, but he comes in and he doesn't know who his real boss is. He's trying to manipulate Tony Khan. You knew CM Punk Phil Brooks was doing that. But over here, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega were not having any of it. You're not going to manipulate us, motherfucker. So Punk is trying to fucking manipulate and own the boss, but over here, he's got 3 other bosses that he's trying to fend off. And then you have talent picking sides. They're going to Tony. He's saying one thing. The EVPs want to do another thing. Obviously, they're going to get their way. We heard those stories. What I'm saying is don't be shocked. Not only is his contract up, not only is he not completely fucking on the same page with Tony Khan, but he, not just the Young Bucks, sent out feelers over to World Wrestling Entertainment, and Triple H more than is going to be welcoming Kenny Omega into the fold. That would be such a blow to Tony Khan, and that's exactly what Triple H is all about. Triple H wants to stick it to Khan for beating him in the ratings. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Triple H is a lot like Paul Levesque is a lot like Vinnie Mac, VKM. Vindictive is only the beginning of it. They're relentless. They're ruthless when it comes to business. They don't want you to just... They don't want to just live in the same world with you and we're all going to make money in the same sport. We're all going to prosper together. No. He wants to put you out of business. He wants to crush you like a cockroach. That's what he wants to do, man. He learned from Vinnie Mac. That's the only way to succeed. So they think. And then he gets beat in the ratings and he has the fucking heart issue. I mean, Tony Khan literally put this guy on the shelf, it would seem. So H is back with a vengeance, and that's why we heard the stories that he sent out feelers over the fucking AEW talent, right? That's why you hear Kenny Omega. It's a little shocking, but it's not that shocking. He sent feelers out to people he once had that are under contract in AEW. He wants them fucking back. Tony Khan got so pissed he called a meeting And he got fucking ripped. And to the point where he's got this new policy where he's not even releasing anybody unless you got the best excuse imaginable. But he is not releasing. He is pissed. He wants nobody going over to WWE. And I wouldn't be also shocked if he locks down Kenny Omega for even more money at 5 years. Because he doesn't want Omega going over to Triple H. But Triple H is damn sure if he can land Kenny Omega, many would say one of the heart and souls of AEW, just like Cody, if he can land Omega and give a knockout punch, would it be a knockout punch to Triple H? It's going to be an uppercut that will rattle AEW and get him caught up in the ropes if it doesn't knock them out. Kenny Omega, heart and soul, man. That would be something to see. I'm telling you right now. But we'll see. That's a few months away, and things are going to be interesting, man. Kenny, it was the Young Bucks we were hearing that are possibly jumping over to World Wrestling Entertainment. Nobody saw this coming. Kenny Omega. Could you imagine if all of them went? Man, now we're just speculating. I don't want to do that. But don't be shocked if in 2023, all of the original EVPs of AEW are in World Wrestling Entertainment. What a wild, wild time in pro wrestling. Lastly, speaking of, I want to talk about Andrade and Sammy Guevara. I filmed this piece. I recorded it, I should say, audio format, late last night. It was so late and I was so busy I didn't even get it up to you guys, so I'm just going to put it in this vid. My candid thoughts on Andrade and Sammy. And to do that properly, I kind of put it in a little package so you guys can actually see the war that was going on social. So we kind of go over that, and then BC gives his thoughts as well. So I'm going to take you guys to that clip right now. All apologies, there was a little bit of audio, some technical difficulties. So there was a little bit of audio issues. Nothing so big that you're not going to be able to make out what BC is saying, but there was some audio issues. The weather was not being receptive to what BC was trying to do. And because I was out in the world still at that time, I had one of the backup Movos, these $50 mics. So that combination, it wasn't the best for audio. But this is my candid thoughts on Sammy Guevara Adrade. If you don't know what BC is talking about, buckle up, man. This is a wild ride that we are on with these two. And until next time, BC is going to say salute. Enjoy this clip that I filmed, recorded last night. Salute. Coming to TNT this winter, the AEW Diaries, a new drama coming to the network that'll jump into the backstage turmoil in AEW. And we all know there's no shortage of that, so TNT jumped at the opportunity to capture such riveting television. Now, before you get too excited, that's not a real series coming to TNT or any network that BC knows of, although you could make an entire series out of all the turmoil in AEW's locker room right now, like the latest beef between Andrade and Sammy Guevara. Now, every time we learn about a new beef, which seems to be every other day when it comes to AEW, we always jump to the questions. Is it a work? Is it a shoot? Is it real? Is this just storyline? At this point, does it even matter? It's just making AEW look so damn bad, bro. So let's jump into it. Andrade cut an interview recently, and he brought up Sammy Guevara. Now, these are two dudes that have been unhappy for a while in AEW, and they've been voicing out their frustrations. In this interview, Andrade mentioned Sammy Guevara. Andrade says, I had an issue with him because he once came to the locker room and complained that we hit him too hard. It's wrestling. Solve it in the ring. If I hit hard, hit me hard too. I learned that he came in and that he accused me like a little girl. After I learned about it, I spoke to him and asked him if he had an issue with me. But he said he did not, and that's all there was to it. It's funny because not even in WWE, for example, Sheamus likes to hit. And all my respect for him because he loves to hit hard and he loves to strike. He is wild. Even The Miz likes to throw strikes. Not even John Cena complained about me. So if he, John Cena, did not complain, imagine this kid who is just starting out. But there's that. Now, Sammy acted like Sammy does, man. He's not going to let that slide. It's part of the reason we love him and maybe the reason why some of you guys don't. Sammy says, you are a jobber, a favor hire. Be grateful, bitch. Now, Andrade hears this. Andrade has to respond. Andrade says, I said it to your face if you had a problem with me and you said nothing. I won't beat your ass because I'm a professional. Don't be scared. When I say something, I name names. And I'm not scared to get fired. Hashtag Sammy. This is another... I honestly think Andrade is in that frame of mind, even though Tony Khan is not allowing releases. He is not afraid to get fired right now. That would probably help out his situation. He could join his wife, Charlotte Flair, in WWE. Anyway, Sammy catches wind of this. Sammy says, you didn't say shit to me, you liar. But here's some truth, you ungrateful prick. You would be jobless if it wasn't for your dad-in-law. Are you really mad at me or mad at yourself for failing to get over a second time? Just go back to WWE like we all know you want to do and fuck off. Damn! Sammy woke up choosing violence. Andrade responds, okay, I'm a liar. I'll see you on Wednesday. I'll tell you to your face again. And you won't say, watch you say that you do not have any problem is what I think Andrade meant to say. Watch you say you still don't have a problem. Jose, the assistant, chimed in here. I was there and I can confirm the incident happened. Andrade gave an honest interview about his thoughts on AEW, his upcoming Rampage match, and his career on the line. Good thing no one in AEW can translate Spanish to English uncensored. Now, BC isn't sure if Jose was saying there's plenty of people that can translate that, so it's a wink-wink. Or is he saying there's not enough representation in AEW? But it's funny that within an hour after that, AEW pumped out a tweet celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, which was hilarious given that Jose, the assistant, just put out that tweet. And then Sammy and Andrade butting heads to the level that they were. And there's AEW absolutely oblivious as all hell, like always. That made BC pop. As did Ricky Starks, man. Huge LOL moment here. Starks puts, wouldn't it be nice if my coworkers could just get along, if they could just shut the fuck up for a minute? He then immediately deleted that tweet, but a fan saw it and asked, why did you delete that banger tweet? Ricky Starks humorously put, my tweets are a museum exhibit. It only lasts so long. Ricky Starks, man, hilarious. And then he posted a photo of himself just checking out his phone. Like, my coworkers have absolutely lost it. I just thought that was funny. Listen, guys, Andrade and Sammy, these are two dudes. I really do appreciate their work. Big fan of Sammy Guevara. I know that's not a popular statement these days, but I am. And I always wanted the best for Andrade. Whether it's real or a work, it's a shoot, it's a storyline. At this point, guys, you blur the lines. That could be a good thing. But when you start, like Andrade, talking about somebody being upset that they got hit too hard, well, that's telling your audience. I mean, we already know it's not, in quotes, real, but we don't want to like know the magic tricks at all times and how they're performed. So when Andrade's doing that, what's the work? What's it going to lead to? A match with them where they're going to not really hit one another some more? You get what I'm saying? I mean, there's exposing the business a little for a storyline, and then there's absolutely destroying the business for a storyline. And that's where you got to make sure that you're not doing that, man. You can't cross the line so far that the means won't justify the ends. You know, like how you got there, it nullifies it in the end because you're talking about, in quotes, fake fighting to get to a fake fight later on. It's, you know what I mean? Like when you expose, like Sammy's upset that you hit him too hard because it's not real. That's not good. So, I mean, it seems like real beef. I always say this, when there is real tension and beef like this in the locker room, which there's always going to be, there has been since the beginning of time in wrestling, and there always will be, if you can put on your big boy pants and turn this into business, turn this into a work somehow, and then everybody's going to win, man. Them, the fans, and the company. So now, because it is out there in the public, now they somehow have to work together like Kingston and Sammy just did. BC Amplified saying check you.